Hey friends, welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. I am Jer Stays, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. Joining me on the line, I am so sorry you got bumped today. Fletcher Sharp, good to see you.
Important stuff was spoken about, so I get it, and hopefully every single person who was affected by what's happening in Southwest is helped. I do know the DCFL, Mexican Town FC, one of the teams made up of a lot of people from Southwest Detroit, did something yesterday at the field house to like a donation drive, and they're probably going to do a few more things as well. And just, it stinks that something bad had to happen, but for something good to come out of it like that, it gives you a little bit of a small smile.
Yeah, I've been seeing some posts about social media around it. Those are good signs of hope. And, you know, I figured it was important to have Malachi on. He was out there literally waiting in it, and I thought brought a lot of perspective. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from the episode. So thanks to Malachi. Thanks to you for listening. And then also thanks to you for giving up your slot for a day. You're a good guy. According to Deadline Detroit, I want to start with this because it's some good news. We are on a list of Detroit's entertaining podcasts with a number of other things. I'll link to it in the show notes. And what they write is, Jer Stays keeps his finger on the pulse of Detroit, talking about the latest in business, restaurants, and other matters. The calm, folksy, fun tone has the feel of a public radio broadcast. So, calm, folksy, and fun. What do you think, Fletcher Sharp?
I'm not folksy.
Well, you take the other two. I'll take all three. I appreciate the compliment. I'll take all three. So you're saying no to the folksy.
Part of like folksy is like the opposite of like city life whenever I think of it. And like typically when you think of like people who are folksy, they're like, super down to earth. And I'm not saying that I'm like super uptight or like anything of the sort, but people look at me and they see my RBF and they sometimes think that I'm like super pretentious, and I'm really just thinking about different ways to make grilled cheese. And I'm not even like anywhere near the world at all in my brain. But because my face is very like flat affect, folksy is not something I've ever been called, I don't think. But the other two, I'll definitely take those.
What makes for the best grilled cheese?
Good cheese. I mean, good cheese and good bread. Like, you don't need the best of either. Just good cheese, good bread, and don't burn it.
So good bread, like,
I mean, go to like a local, bakery. You don't have to get like the $17 loaf, but like, get you some nice bread, has a little bit of flour on it, probably. I like white. You can do wheat if you're like one of those weirdo freaks who wants to have something crunchy in your sandwich. Good for you. For me, I'm partial to Munster cheese, so maybe a little bit of Munster cheese, but you can use any cheese. But a nice Munster and maybe Gouda cheese, grilled cheese. The palate's salivating already.
I think key to this, I see a lot of people who will toast the bread in a toaster and then put cheese in it. And for me, I feel like that's not the way to go. You got to do it on the stove, on the flat top or whatever. You need that direct heat.
I mean, I've done that before. Like I was a kid, but like, it's not bad. That's not a bad way to do it. Like there's really no wrong way to make a grilled cheese unless you like burn it. Then at that point, like, what are you doing? Like, you should never be in a kitchen ever again, because burning a grilled cheese is a very hard thing to do. And if you succeed in that more than once, I don't think I'd let you hand me a glass of water.
But you know who does know how to use a grill and a griddle very well is the Clique. I wanted to highlight this for people. Bridge Detroit did a great piece around a half a century of the Clique restaurant. If you don't know this place, have you ever been, Fletcher Sharp?
I have not. I know where it is, but
okay.
I have not been yet.
So it's in this spot in a motel that's just east of the Rensen, over by a church over there. It's been around forever. I've had breakfast there a ton of times. You'll run in everybody from a politician to a neighbor. Absolutely great. Although I will admit that I have not been since the pandemic, and I need to fix that this month because diner breakfast is the best breakfast. And although not technically a Coney, I would put it on the list of places I would go that you need to check out if you've already done American and Lafayette, which I think is the ultimate basic starter set. You got to expand your Coneys and your diners far out, my friend.
Yeah, I'm not someone who says whether you're like a real Detroiter or not. I don't typically do stuff like that because if you're here and you want to be here, especially in this decade, I will consider you a Detroiter enough. But I feel like you are more able to ingrain yourself if you actually have a Coney Island that's a favorite of yours that's not one of the two downtown. And for me, that took a while. Like I've lived in Detroit most of my life, and I've had Coney Islands by me. Joseph's Coney Island is a good example on Jefferson and Connor. But I was like, well, I prefer Lafayette. And it wasn't until recently I found Universal Coney Island right off the freeway by Alter about 2 years ago. And I have not thought about Lafayette or American since. Great food, open till like 4 a.m. I picked up my brother from a concert. He saw Fred again at LCA. He picked him up. Picking up my 21-year-old very drunk brother was also very surreal for me. I felt like a parent that I didn't want to be a parent. I took him to Universal, sobered him up real quick because he was like, "This is delicious," and I was like, "Oh, you're awake? That's great. Like, let's get you home now because don't like what's happening over here." But great food. I normally get an order of wingdings, maybe order chili fries. If I'm feeling really hungry, get a double bacon cheeseburger. Hold the onions, and because I want to be sociable, I don't want to smell like onions. And yeah, I think it's a really solid Coney. I'm not going to say it's the best one in the city, but I will say it's my favorite, and that matters way more to me.
Key to this conversation that I think that people new to it don't understand. The Detroit Coney is more than the Coney dog. Just like you're talking about the wingdings and stuff. It's one of the reasons why, although I don't know if a Coney is on the menu at the Clique, it almost fits into that. Even though it's a diner, it almost fits into that Coney category.
Yeah, I mean, like anyone can make a Coney dog and put like chili on it, but like what makes your Coney a good Coney is the fact you have other things besides just the Coney. There was a Coney by my high school on the west side. I can't think of the name right now, but it was like the universal hangout spot for everyone leaving U of D, whether it was like you have an off period, you just did community service. People just hang out there and eat. And most people didn't get Coney food. They would get like me, I'd get the chef salad because I was intrigued by having bacon and an egg on a salad. Like high school me was like, this is crazy. What would think of next? But that's to me is the mark of a Coney Island. Like when you have an establishment like that does serve Coney food, but you serve other things and like people maybe get the staple items, but also get things that wouldn't necessarily be at a Coney Island. That lets me know, like, okay, your establishment is somewhere that I actually want to be. But if you're just straight up, we got loose burgers, we got Coneys, that's great. Maybe I'll stop in once or twice, but it's not necessarily somewhere that I want to frequent.
You're mentioning the East Side, and you are somebody like me of the East Side, although you went to high school on the West Side. I heard that Red Crown over in that strip in Grosse Pointe Park had a water heater fire. That place, I feel like Red Crown has the potential to have a really cool, extra cool thing with their gas like it's an old gas station, an old Red Crown gas station, and they've tried a couple different food concepts. I'm sorry that they had a fire. Apparently they got to do some cleaning. They will be back. They will be back open, but there are actually like a number of spots to eat. I thought about this because recently I was out at Decent Detroit over in your side of town. That's actually on the Detroit side of the border, but it's like lining up where there's a bunch of stuff over there. If you wanted to actually go have drinks and have fun, you should not sleep on that Detroit Grosse Pointe border.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you want like a nice little pastry, I went to La Rouge for Valentine's Day to do something nice for my partner. And I got her a rosé flavored coffee.
Ooh.
And was delicious. I got myself rosé flavored tea. It was strictly just for Valentine's Day. Didn't make a comeback. Also got her a chocolate croissant. They had a ham and cheese. Like it was nice little bakery. It replaced Cornwall, which I think was like one of my favorite bakeries ever because they had huge croissants that were delicious for super cheap. La Rouge is definitely not that. but it's still very good food.
I'm going to say this. What I missed about Cornwall, they actually started carrying back in that spot before it was called Cornwall, way back in the day. It was actually a neighborhood market called Mueller's Market. They actually had like a giant juice machine and all that other stuff.
That's where Mueller's was.
Yeah, that's where Mueller's was. And that was back when I was a kid. My dad would sometimes go past there. And that potato salad, A1. And them not having that potato salad at Le Rouge, I know that I've gotten a few recipe ideas from people. I'm still soliciting recipe ideas for that Mueller's potato salad. I would go all the way east just to pick up that potato salad because it was the best potato salad I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the old croissants they used to have there. They'd have these breakfast sandwiches where you could get them. They'd take their big croissants, they'd cut them open, they'd put bacon, and they'd put cheese and an egg in there, or if you wanted sausage, they'd do that. And I remember getting one with bacon and thinking, all right, this is whatever. And I took a bite, and I took a step out of Cornwall and turned right back around. I was like, let me get 2 more of these, because I'm going to eat this one for the walk home, which isn't very far. And then I'm going to get home and I'm going to feel like I want to eat something else. And then maybe later in the day, I'm going to want to eat one of these like warmer, but not necessarily like hot or cold. So I need more. So when Cornwall shut down, I was a little despondent. I'm glad Le Rouge is there to fill the itch for a lot of people who need somewhere for bakery stuff. But I'm always going to miss those sandwiches from Cornwall.
We did a post years ago. This is even before we had a podcast. We did a post about getting epic on the east side. I think we need to reprise that and put together a new guide because some places have closed, RIP Dad's Bar, and some places have opened. Put together a little weirding going out, seeing the world post of that corner of town. I think it would be a good thing to do. Like our favorite spots right around there would be good.
Yeah, Dad's Bar ending was... I mean, I never really stopped there often until I lived over here. My partner loved going there all the time. When it shut down and ultimately was destroyed, people were like, we need help moving stuff. I know my neighbor across the street actually got the fridge that used to be in there, and I helped push it down the street for her. So yeah, it was that was definitely the ending of an era. But yeah, I'd be happy to help assemble a list like that.
Oh, for sure. You know, Dad's Bar, I have some good memories of. Funnily enough, you ever go through a breakup and then the other person gets a bar that you really aren't supposed to go to? Not that it's a bad thing, but you know, it's their bar. And that happened to me because I dated somebody who their bar was my dad's bar. And now that my dad's bar is gone, well, they're gone out of the state too. And they're living a great life. I now don't have, like, there are no places I can't go now again. It's kind of great. And not that there was any animus, but you know, you got to respect in the breakup which bar goes where.
I mean, I have a taco spot like that. It's why I have a hard time. I've not told people what it is. Like, if people within the inner sanctum know where it is. And I don't tell many people because if I ever end up losing that friendship or the person if I'm dating someone and we're no longer dating, if I see you at that spot, it's going to make me very mad and I will not go there anymore. And it'll hurt me because their food is like the favorite food of mine. It's my favorite establishment in the city. So I will not say what. I will say there are 2 locations.
You won't even give more clues to our member Discord at patreon.com/dailydetroit. More clues? Could they find more clues on the Discord? You have to say what it is. Just another clue.
They sell tacos.
You got to save it for the Discord.
That's the clue. They sell tacos.
He holds his secrets very tight. We might have to start a petition to get you to pry open these tacos. I do want to mention, as an update to something we talked about, the Detroit Shock. We're not getting a team this round. It looks like it's going to go to the Cleveland Rockers, owned by Dan Gilbert and company. But there's some good news in that the WNBA said that because of all the interest, they're probably going to pop open a couple more slots for teams in the future. I thought it would be difficult for us to get it this round because the ownership group was announced so soon before the announcement was going to be made. Thoughts on this? I'm half disappointed in that I didn't think we would get it this round, but I'll admit I have some disappointment.
I'm not necessarily disappointed that they didn't get it this time. It's more so that the Cleveland Rockers did, because they've never been good. Like they've had maybe 2 good years, but they've been like a very not good franchise. So like a little bit forgetful. You don't forget their jerseys because they're the Rockers, since they're based in Cleveland, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But like that's really it. Like you don't really think much about them outside of that. So for them to get it over a storied franchise like the Detroit Shock bothers me. The fact the Shock didn't get it now, I figured it might not be the thing. But for them to be this close and for it to go to a regional rival bothers me. But I understand Dan Gilbert, whatever you think about him running the Cavaliers or the way he went with LeBron or how you feel about maybe Quicken or anything of the sort, Dan Gilbert runs a basketball organization well. They've won championships. They are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NBA currently. They have a young nucleus. He knows how to run things, and I think them seeing a name, albeit not just him, but a name like that versus Pistons had a pretty good rollout of names, but not like one specific one in basketball where they're like, okay, this guy definitely knows what he's doing already. Probably tipped the scale in their favor a little bit more.
Do you think we still have a strong shot? Because some of the cities that are being talked about are like Houston that have a really strong basketball culture. Do you think we still have a shot? Like, is it still a strong shot? Am I okay to be hopeful?
Yes, because I mean, you mentioned Houston. The Comets were like one of the first juggernauts of the WNBA, but one of the later juggernauts of the WNBA were the Detroit Shock, and there's a big interest in people wanting the Shock back. It isn't like Tulsa being like, we want the like when the Shock went to Tulsa, nobody liked the Shock. Even the people in Tulsa did not like the Shock. It's a very different story. Like the people in the city will show up, and they're showing up for the Pistons and showing that they do care. They want a team back here, and that's making the higher ups of the WNBA think like, oh, we really should get the Shock back. Like it's not just a few people online complaining. It's actually a bunch of people, bunch of serious people who want this organization back. So I think there's a pretty good chance they get it just because there's interest, not just online, but actually with people who have a lot more money than the average person.
Some people pushed back online around our Shock conversation because, you know, they said that the WNBA is trying to be very specific with their expansion plans and try to grow sustainably. And I feel of two minds. I understand their point, but I also think when you've got the dollars, it's my experience, pro sports leagues don't refuse the dollars.
Yeah, especially the WNBA. Not to say that they're doing poorly. They're doing better than they have been in the past 10 years. But, I mean, I think the Valkyries bid was at like $250 million. So I feel like if owners pony up, like we have $300, $400 million, they're going to be like, yeah, no one's going to be like, no, we don't want that. We don't want your money. That's not how you grow a business. I'm pretty sure if they got the owners together and they said, hey, next round, who wants to be the next WNBA franchise, team 17 and 18, and someone ponied up $400 million, it'd be like, you know what? Direct deposit. Thank you very much. Welcome back. So I understand, but also I'm going to choose to not understand better because I would love to see the Shock back downtown.
Well, Fletcher Sharp, it's good to catch up with you, man.
Of course, yeah, thanks for having me. I really hope that they can fix what's happening in Southwest because that's a lot of water to freeze over with people's houses where they are and cars and situations, and like that's very traumatic. So hopefully they can get stuff rectified as soon as possible.
For sure, and we will be keeping an eye on it as well as I'm sure Malachi and others because it is an important story. Well, with that, I'm Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/Daily Detroit. You are what help power local media. Until tomorrow, remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.